Hi everybody, FPL Witty here, back out here in the Yorkshire countryside for another of my regular FPL videos. Bit of scenery for you, have a chat about FPL, have a look at what's gone by in the last game week, have a look ahead, have a look at some of the key talking points, and we'll try and keep these to 15 minutes as always, so that's the plan. So recording this on Tuesday morning after the game week 13 that's just gone by, so I hope you had a good one. I had a red arrow this week, so I hope you had a better one than me. So quite an eventful week really, wasn't it? We had a few surprise results happening this week. So we had loads and loads of points left on the benches. We had the likes of Bailey, Pereira, Danny Ward, Neco Williams all staring at us from our benches, so it's not unusual for people to have 20, even 30 points on the bench this week. Just one of those crazy weeks then, when 9 out of 10 times we wouldn't have started them, of course, just how it works out. Good luck if you got well done rather if you get one of those off the bench. And we had a bit of controversy as well, didn't we, particularly on the last game on Monday night. So plenty to talk about as always. We usually start the review off by talking about Arsenal's latest victory, don't we? And they didn't manage one this week. I thought they were quick out the blocks against Southampton. I only own Martinelli at Arsenal, so the way Arsenal started, I feared a bit of a hole really for the likes of Saka and Jesus, but Southampton stuck with it, and I thought they were good value for the win in the end, one apiece. So drop points for Arsenal. And of course Spurs, they got turned over as well, so more surprises there. They got beaten at home by Newcastle. Harry Kane back on the goal trail after his rare blank last week, so well done if you're on Harry, ticking along. But I thought Newcastle again were good value for their win. And Almiron, he's certainly popping the goals in, isn't he? So I think he's the most bought player now, not surprisingly, ahead of game week 14. So well done if you're on Almiron. But yes, City, they took full advantage of that Arsenal slip. Manchester City, they managed a 3-1 against Brighton, as we probably all expected. Those who dared to take on Haaland for captaincy this week, they were disappointed. And it's always dangerous taking on Haaland, of course. He got 2 goals. I was on Haaland. I was also on Phil Foden, and that was one of the big talking points, really, wasn't it? I did the Trossard to Foden move last week, which I think was the most popular transfer of all last week. And of course Foden, having started every match, having returned in every home match, and he starts on the bench. Trossard, who we all needed last week against Forest, he pops up and scores, doesn't he? So inevitable, wasn't it? That's how FPL goes, but you just got to laugh sometimes at these things, haven't you? But yeah, I was one of the many Trossard to Foden owners. So well done City. They're now close to within 2 points, and I think you have to make Manchester City favourites really on paper, don't you? So Liverpool, another surprise. They were turned over at bottom club Nottingham Forest, and nobody really saw that one coming. I think we were all expecting a bit of a Liverpool feast really, weren't we? A few surprises when the team sheet came out. Trent was benched after he'd expected back in the action. Darwin Núñez didn't make the squad after his what we thought was perhaps a fairly minor injury, so a bit of a spanner in the works there. But that only served to set the game up really for Mo Salah, didn't it? With Jota, Núñez and Luis Diaz all missing, so that really set the game up for Mo, didn't it, to play down the middle against Forest and get a bit of a hole. But in the end, he was quite anonymous, really. So It's a real head scratcher, isn't he, Salah? He gave us a bit of a taster, didn't he, against Rangers and against Manchester City. But then we all flocked back to him, and he was a big disappointment this week, wasn't he? So he's the most sold player now, I think, Mo Salah, ahead of game week 14. Not sure I'd be selling him ahead of Leeds at home, personally. If you're making the switch to De Bruyne, perhaps, if you've not already got Foden and 3 City. So yeah, Liverpool completely off the game, weren't they? But full credit to Forest. They're perhaps not the whipping boys that we thought now. Back-to-back clean sheets. So well done, Forest. Chelsea and Manchester United, they drew. And just when we thought Kepa was going to get, was it 4 successive clean sheets, or maybe even 5, he goes and concedes right in the 96th minute. So a bit of a frustration if he jumped on the Kepa bargain that he is. And then outside that we had Fulham winning 3-2 at Leeds. I don't live too far from Leeds. I don't support Leeds, but I'm not too far from Leeds, and believe me, the natives are a bit restless at the moment. Fulham 3-2 winners. Mitrovic 3 goals in a row. 2 of them penalties, admittedly, but Mitrovic, is it something like 9 goals now this season? He's certainly doing the business, isn't he? And he seems fairly fixture-proof, having scored against some of the big clubs early season as well. So, but big talking point with Fulham, I think, at the moment is Andreas Pereira, isn't it? We've all got him parked there at first sub. He's a handy player to come on if you get a player injured. He's probably a handy player to have in your starting lineup, but not many of us can accommodate that at the moment. But what it does mean is if you get a short-term injury, there's no problem just popping a player on the bench for one game, is there? If you've got Andreas Pereira, definitely this week when he plays Everton at home, that's a good example. If you've owned Solanke, perhaps, who's just limped off in the last match and he plays Tottenham, Pereira's certainly doing the business, isn't he? I left him at first sub like many others did, of course. And then we had a bit of a reaction from Villa, didn't we? They sacked Gerrard, and then they go and win 4-0. So often we get this new manager bounce, don't we? But that was a pretty big bounce by any standards, wasn't it, really? So those back-to-back double-figure hauls for Brentford keeper Raya, that was rudely interrupted, wasn't it, by a bit of a hammer-in. Bailey and Ings, the big stars for Villa. Crystal Palace, they're a bit of an enigma, aren't they? They got turned over 3-0 at Everton. I was on Zaha and Guehi, the Palace double up. I was pretty optimistic, really. Everton had lost their last 3 in a row. They'd not scored for the last 2. So Everton completely bossed that game, didn't they? 3-0 against Palace. So we've got a bit of a dilemma now as to what to do with Zaha, don't we? He has got a good-looking fixture this week against Southampton, so it could burn us to sell him. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't this week, aren't you, with Zaha? But I thought he was pretty unlucky not to be sent off at Everton as well. So there you go, what to do with Zaha. So aside from that, we had a bit of a shock again at Wolves, really, didn't we? Wolves 0, Leicester 4. Don't think that tells the full tale, really. I think Wolves won the shot count, was it 23-5? But it was Leicester who picked up the 4-0 win, so always the case, isn't it? So I had the dilemma of Pope against Ward. I fancied Wolves to score. I played Pope, it was a bit of a 50-50, the clean sheet odds were virtually the same. So I think those 23 shots that Wolves had sort of backed up the decision in a way, but there you go, full credit Danny Ward. So can he keep a clean sheet against Manchester City next week? That's the question. I think if I've got Danny Ward on my bench and he keeps a clean sheet against Manchester City, then I'll bear my backside in this video next week. So watch this space, no doubt he will, and you wouldn't want to see that, believe me. So yeah, plenty of action. West Ham got a bit of a controversial win against Bournemouth, didn't they? Just at the on the last match. I think Bournemouth can be a bit of a bit aggrieved really at the volleyball assist, but I don't think Zuma owners will mind too much, will they? But certainly a controversial one to let that goal stand, and disappointing for Bournemouth all round really, with that controversial goal and then Solanke off injured as well, so certainly not a good day to be a Cherries fan. So quickly on to my game week. So I'd been on a bit of a sea of green really, 9 green arrows at 11, top 20k, ticking along great, but it never pays to get complacent in this game, does it? So I had a bit of a kick in this week. Game week 13 proved unlucky for me. I only had 2 returners. I had the Haaland captaincy and I had a goal for Mitrovic, and that was it really. I got the Pope Ward call wrong. The Mo Salah and Foden hauls I was pretty confident about. They never happened. My Palace boys let me down, so I think it's just one of those game weeks. So I dropped this week from 21k to 57k. So a bit of a bump in the road, but we move on, don't we? That's all we can do. So yeah, just a couple of minutes to look ahead then. So we've got game week 14 coming up. I think the first thing to do is not touch your side really until we've had the midweek European action. Potential for so many injuries and things that can go wrong, so hold your transfers until Thursday night or Friday is the first thing I would say. And of course now we've only got 3 game weeks till we got the World Cup break, where we all get unlimited transfers. So I think every transfer you need to make now is pretty precious really, with the break in mind when we've only got three games to go. So in terms of what I'm looking to do, I might roll the transfer this week. I'm sort of looking at this Arsenal Forest game and wondering whether I want to get Jesus or Saka in to double up on the Arsenal attack, but we've said that Forest are not the whipping boys that we maybe thought they were. And then of course they do have Chelsea away and Wolves away to follow it, so bit of a thinking time there. Do I move Zaha to Saka? We know Zaha will punish me. Do I move Tony to Jesus? Probably not a good idea when Tony plays Forest the week after anyway, so bit of a head scratcher. So if you want to follow my team more closely, you can do so. I write articles on Fantasy Football Geek website. I'll be doing these videos once a week, and you can follow me on Twitter at FPL Witty. So in terms of captaincy next week, then of course Haaland plays Leicester. That's definitely where the safe money lies. That's where I'll be as a safe manager. But if you want a bit of a punt, you've got Mo Salah against Leeds. Could easily come good. He's got a good record against Leeds. And we've got that Arsenal fixture for the Arsenal attackers against Forest. We've got Harry Kane at Bournemouth, so there's a few tasty possibilities. In terms of the most bought and sold players this week, I mean, we talked about Mo Salah being the most sold. I think that's a bit of a dodgy one when he's got Leeds. I think he could easily haul. Some of the most bought players, we've got Trossard. He's gone from the most bought to the most sold to the most bought, so that's what scoring a few goals does for you. But Almiron, he's obviously very popular as well. So yeah, I hope you have a good week. Try and avoid any knee-jerk reactions and transfers if you had a bad one. Keep the faith. Good thing about having a bad week is that there's another one comes along quite soon and you get a chance to have a better one. So yeah, I'll be back next week to have a chat about game week 14. Hope you have a good one. So we'll leave it there. We're inside the 15 minutes, so hoping for green arrows next week. So as they say in Barnsley, I'll see it.